Hey Isaac, great job on your PowerPoint. It looks really good, and I'm really impressed with how quickly you got this put together. So, I just had a few suggestions, and it's just easier for me to do it speaking, and then that way I can show you the screen at the same time. So, on the first slide, I just took out the colon, so you'll just have to bear with me because my degree was in teaching English and linguistics, so I just noticed little things like that. So, you don't really need a colon there. I know why you were doing it, but I think it's better just to use College of Business kind of as an adjective, modifying graduate programs. Um, but either way is really fine. But I just wanted to let you know I did it. So since I modified your PowerPoint, agenda looks great. Again, just one tiny thing. Whenever you have like a phrase like this and it's not a complete sentence, then I personally would just remove the periods because you only need those if it's a complete sentence. So I would just go through the PowerPoint and just delete all the periods whenever it's not a complete sentence, which is most of the time. So like all of these, for example, since you're not saying I began, I entered, then you don't really need the period. So I was thinking on this first bullet point, you could maybe say like completed my undergraduate degree in general management from fall 2016 to whenever. And then that way it will show like when you finished it, because otherwise it's like a little bit ambiguous as to like when you finished it. And like, was it overlapping with you going into the workforce or was it before? So maybe if you added that there, entered the workforce, okay. It was a little unclear, like when you entered the workforce in 2020, if that was at Rocket Mortgage. So I don't know if you could combine those, if that's where you were working, or if you were working somewhere else. Maybe if you could say at wherever, make it clear it wasn't Rocket Mortgage. Um, this looks good because you've got like the starting and the ending date, and then began pursuing master science. Yep. Yep, in 2025. And again, yeah, you could say spring 2025 just because all the other ones you've got that. Well, again, one other little thing, sorry, is that this would technically be about me. I'm just gonna go ahead and change it for you, but um myself is reflexive, so it would be like if you're talking about yourself, but otherwise it's just about me. All right, this one looked good. Thought that was really good. All of those points are really good. Okay, all the stuff about the MBA looks good. I heard that there was like an accelerated MBA program. I don't know if you did that or if you know anything about that. Um, Actually, that just made me think, could you add to this point if you got your undergrad degree from CMU or from somewhere else? Maybe you could just add that there because that might help them to know if you know about CMU undergrad degrees or not. Um, so anyway, back to the MBA thing. Yeah, I heard there's an accelerated program. So if you know anything about that, you could potentially mention that here or add another slide about it if you know about it. Let's see. Which slide am I on? Okay, there we go. All right. This one, um, I was just thinking you're probably putting this here maybe as like a reference, like a citation. Honestly, I think it's fine if you just say that you just verbally say that you got this off of CMU's website, then I think that's fine. I think that will just clean it up because, oopsies, we're not in frame anymore. Because I already know by looking at this that this is going to be really, really little um, projected up on the screen. And also, it's just like a lot of text. So I think overall, I would personally just delete that. And then what I would do is I would make this bigger. Like right now, it's only at 18. Usually, you want like at least 25 or 30 point font on a slide. So, for example, this over here was a little bit smaller, and I bumped it up to 20 just to make it a little bit easier to read. So anyways, I would delete this and then I would just make that quote just a little bit bigger. Okay, let's see. All right, so this is the MSIS. So I'm thinking that there's like a lot of text on here and it's going to be a little bit information overload. The other problem is this is only 16 point font, which again, when you look at it on a laptop or computer screen, it looks fine, but in a classroom, it does not look good. You really got to get like at least a 25. Um, so what I would do is I would keep all of this on one slide, and then I would put the tracks on a separate slide. Also, I would personally, I know you're trying to be really good and like not plagiarize and stuff, but personally, I would go ahead and delete all of these citations. Um, if you want to just stick like CMU website or something, but honestly, the fact that you've got this on a CMU PowerPoint is kind of showing that's where you got it from. So you can verbally use your citation and say, I got this off of this website. And then once you've divided these into two slides, then you can bump up the font as big as you can get. Okay, and then this one, let me take a look. Okay, yeah, same thing. I would just delete this thing at the bottom. Also, if you want, you could just put a references slide at the end, and then you could just put like the two websites or whatever you use, like for the MBA and the MSIS. And then I could post these slides to Blackboard for them. And then that way they could actually just click on the links where you got this. One little thing is since this right here is kind of like the heading for these four things, then what I would do is don't make that one a bullet point. That's kind of like the start of your sentence, and then these are the 4 points under it. And then delete that little citation, and then you can make these bigger now because you have more room. And then we've also I just heard from Vanessa that we're going to be starting an accelerated MSIS degree. So if students want, like, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know if it'd be their senior year, they would take a few like 500 level courses probably. And then they would only need like 3 semesters to do the MSIS program. So if you wanted to mention that you've heard that, then you could say that as well. Um, yeah, and then questions and comments. And I just moved that down, just so you know. It's like you had it up here, and I always just think it looked kind of nice. But again, you can totally move it back. Sorry, I'm not trying to like change your PowerPoint if you don't want, but that way it, centers the white space. But um, so the only other thing I thought of, so I thought this looked really, really good, and I loved all the information you included. The only other thing I was wondering if you would be able to talk about, if you don't know about it, it's no problem because like I don't know about it either, but if you happen to know like when they should be applying, like do they do it the semester when they're about to graduate, or do they do they have to do it 2 semesters before? So if you could tell them like when, maybe if you know, you could even add a slide on like when do I apply? I have like 50% freshmen, but then all the other ones are sophomores and juniors, and there's one senior the senior is actually getting a minor in information systems. Um, and I have one other minor in information systems, but most are undeclared. So, anyways, if you know when, you could add that in as well. And then the final thing is if you know like how, again, I don't know any of this, I'm not an advisor, I just teach. So if you happen to know like the website that they go to apply to either the MBA or the MSIS program, and if you could stick that like in the references page at the end, and then that way they could click on it if they wanted to apply. And yeah, if you know any of the requirements like the GPA or anything like that, you could you know, add that if you wanted. But anyways, those are just a few other ideas of things if you want to add them or if you know about them. But if you don't, is completely fine. Like what you've got is fantastic, and this is going to be super helpful for them to learn about all of this. So thank you so much for doing this, and I'm like really excited to hear your presentation.